The Antwerp Diamond Centre wasn't merely a building. It was a legend whispered in hushed tones across continents, a testament to human ingenuity in the face of greed. Its security was a symphony of cutting-edge technology and centuries of paranoid refinement. Walls reinforced with steel and concrete formed an impenetrable shell guarding the vault within. The vault itself was a marvel, a cylindrical behemoth of tempered steel, secured by a complex combination lock with 100 million possible permutations. Infrared detectors, motion sensors, magnetic field monitors, a seismic sensor capable of detecting the slightest tremor, and a private security force patrolling 24/7. Each layer was designed to complement the last, creating a fortress universally acknowledged as impregnable. No one had ever successfully breached it, not in its storied history. Leo Notarbartolo arrived in Antwerp under a veil of anonymity, a nondescript tourist among many. His gaze, however, was anything but idle. He stood across the busy square, a cup of lukewarm coffee clutched in his hand, observing the imposing structure. The gray facade, the tinted windows reflecting the cold Belgian sky, the constant stream of diamond dealers, guards, and ordinary workers entering and exiting. It all coalesced into a challenge, a tantalizing puzzle for his sharp mind. A faint, almost imperceptible smirk played on his lips, a silent acknowledgement of the audacity of the thought blooming within him. The impossible, he mused, was merely a concept awaiting an innovative solution. Days bled into weeks, each one dedicated to meticulous observation. Leo rented a small, unassuming apartment overlooking the Diamond Centre. He acquired blueprints through channels he'd cultivated over years, spending hours poring over the intricate diagrams, tracing ventilation shafts, plumbing lines, and electrical conduits. He memorized guard shift changes, their lunch breaks, the frequency of their patrols, even their preferred coffee shops. He noted the precise timing of the security camera sweeps, the moments of overlap, the blind spots. He learned the routine of the vault manager, the rhythm of the delivery trucks, the casual conversations between the guards. This wasn't merely research, it was an immersion, a deep dive into the very soul of the fortress, searching for the hairline fracture in its flawless armor. He was a conductor, learning every note of a complex score before daring to play. The architect of shadows, Leo traced the blueprints of the Diamond Centre, his finger hovering over the vault's reinforced steel. For months, he'd observed, documented, and analyzed every camera angle, every guard rotation, every electronic pulse. The impossible vault, as it was called, relied on a multi-layered security system, magnetic fields, infrared sensors, Doppler radar, and a seismic detector. Each layer, formidable on its own, became a vulnerability when combined with human complacency. He'd found the gaps, the tiny fissures in their blind trust. The trick wasn't brute force, but elegant deception. His first call was to Sophia. He found her in a dimly lit workshop in Naples, surrounded by an array of picks and tension wrenches that looked more like surgical instruments. She acknowledged his presence with a curt nod, her gaze fixed on a complex German safe lock. Antwerp, Leo stated, laying a schematic on her workbench. The Diamond Centre, vault access. Sophia's fingers, nimble and precise, danced over the tumbler. A faint click echoed in the silence. She turned, her usually reserved eyes holding a flicker of interest. A challenge, then? The ultimate challenge, Leo confirmed, but it requires silence, absolute undetectable entry. My specialty, she replied, a rare, dry smile touching her lips. I can make a lock sing, or whisper, or simply cease to exist. Next, he sought out Marco in a bustling Roman piazza, where the younger man was charming a street vendor out of a free espresso. Marco, all fluid motion and effortless grace, possessed an uncanny ability to navigate any physical barrier. Leo cut straight to the chase. Antwerp, Diamond Centre. We need to move like ghosts, Marco. No alarms, no witnesses, no traces. Marco's eyes, bright with an almost childlike enthusiasm, sparkled. Sounds like fun. What's the catch? Tripping the magnetic fields? Precisely, and scaling walls, bypassing laser grids, and maintaining absolute invisibility. Consider it done, Marco grinned, already visualizing the impossible leaps. I'll be the wind, Leo. The team converged in a rented Antwerp apartment, the city's ancient spires visible from the window. Sophia, quiet and observant, meticulously examined the schematics Leo had provided. Marco, restless but focused, paced the room, his mind already calculating trajectories and escape routes. Leo stood before them, a map of the Diamond Centre spread across the table. "Gentlemen, Sophia, this isn't just about taking diamonds. It's about proving that no system is truly impenetrable. We will move through these layers of security like water. Sophia, you are the key to the vault itself. Marco, you are our ghost in the machine, bypassing every physical obstacle. I am the architect. Every detail, every second has been accounted for. Failure is not an option. The stakes are immense, but the reward is even greater than mere jewels. It's about revealing the illusion of impossibility." The air crackled with a silent understanding. The impossible, Leo knew, was merely a word for something that hadn't been done yet, and they were about to write the new definition. Valentine's Vale. Antwerp, usually a bustling symphony of commerce and hurried footsteps, had begun to hum a different tune. A hush, almost reverential, had fallen over the city as Valentine's Day approached. Shops displayed heart-shaped chocolates and crimson roses, but beneath the veneer of romance, a strategic lull was settling. This was their window, Leo knew. He'd spent weeks observing the Diamond Centre, watching its pulse quicken during the week, then slow to a near standstill on weekends, especially holiday weekends. Now, with lovers distracting the world, the building was a sleeping beast, vulnerable. He made his final rounds, a ghost in the twilight, checking the rear alleyways, noting the precise angle of a street lamp, the blind spots of the cameras. His fingers traced the cold, unyielding metal of a service door, committing its subtle imperfections to memory. The blueprints were etched in his mind, but there was no substitute for the tangible reality. Inside their cramped, rented apartment, the air was thick with unspoken anticipation. Sophia, perched on an overturned crate, meticulously polished her toolkit. Each lockpick, each tension wrench, gleamed under the dim light, an extension of her own quiet precision. Her brow was furrowed, a silent testament to her focus. She looked up as Marco burst in, a whirlwind of suppressed energy. "All right, my little nightingales," he chirped, attempting levity. "The stage is set. Even the pigeons are too busy cooing to care." Sophia offered a faint, almost imperceptible smile, her eyes returning to a tiny shim. Leo, however, simply nodded, his gaze distant, already inside the vault. "Everything's quiet," he confirmed, his voice low and steady. "The city is ours tonight." Marco, for once, settled, his usual boisterousness replaced by a focused intensity. He checked the fastenings on his dark, flexible clothing, testing his movements. There was a quiet understanding that passed between them, a shared breath held before the plunge. Under the velvet cloak of night, they moved like shadows. The crisp February air nipped at their faces as they approached the Diamond Centre. The grand entrance was dark, the security lights casting long, distorted shadows. The street was deserted, save for a lone parked car that blended seamlessly into the backdrop. Marco melted into the deeper shadows by the building's side. Sophia moved with a dancer's grace towards a less conspicuous entrance, and Leo, a silent conductor, watched them both, the weight of their impossible task resting squarely on his shoulders. The city slept, dreaming of love, completely unaware of the quiet heist unfolding beneath its very nose. Silent steps. The digital hum of the Antwerp Diamond Centre's outer perimeter was a symphony of vulnerabilities to Sophia. Her fingers, nimble and precise, danced across the custom-built interface, a ghost in the machine. A faint, almost imperceptible click confirmed the first layer of electronic alarms had been neutralized. "Perimeter secure," she whispered into her comms, her voice a dry rustle. Leo, watching the complex grid flicker green on his tablet, offered a brief, almost imperceptible nod. "Good," whisper. "Phantom, you're up." Marco, a shadow in motion, melted into the service corridors. His path, meticulously mapped by Leo, was a labyrinth of dim lights and echoing footfalls. He moved with a dancer's grace, each step silent, each turn anticipated. A camera lens, perched high on the wall, whirred almost imperceptibly. Marco paused, a small device glinting in his hand. A quick, practiced motion, a barely audible snick, and the camera's red eye blinked out, replaced by a blank stare. "Another one down," he murmured, a hint of theatricality in his tone, even to an empty hallway. He loved this part, the ballet of deception. Leo, a silent conductor, orchestrated the operation from their hidden vantage point. His eyes, sharp and unblinking, scanned the live feeds, directing Sophia through a maze of pressure plates and laser grids, and guiding Marco past patrolling guards whose routes were now predictable patterns on his screen. 20 meters ahead, Phantom, a cleaner's cart. Use it as cover for the next camera, Leo instructed, his voice a low, steady thrum in their ears. Minutes stretched into an eternity, punctuated by Sophia's quiet confirmations and Marco's phantom movements. The electronic doors hissed open and closed on command, a testament to Sophia's ethereal touch. The air, heavy with the scent of old dust and expensive polish, grew thick with anticipation. Finally, after navigating a final heavily reinforced hallway, the main vault door loomed before them. A colossal, unyielding slab of steel, adorned with an intricate series of tumblers and bolts. Marco let out a soft whistle. "Well, isn't she a beauty?" he whispered, his usual bravado mixed with genuine awe. Sophia, usually stoic, allowed a small, almost imperceptible smile to play on her lips. They had done it. The outer layers, the impossible security, lay breached and silent. The real challenge, however, was just beginning. The vault's embrace. The rhythmic snick-snick of tumblers echoed in the confined space, each click a tiny victory. Sophia, her face a mask of intense concentration, barely registered the tension radiating from Leo and Marco. Her fingers, nimble and precise, danced across the lock's complex mechanism, a silent dialogue between steel and unparalleled skill. A final, satisfying thunk resonated, and the heavy vault door, a fortress designed to withstand any assault, groaned open. A collective intake of breath. Inside, an arena of polished chrome and dark steel stretched before them, rows upon rows of safe deposit boxes glinting under their headlamps, hundreds. More than Leo had estimated, even with his meticulous research. Marco, usually quick with a quip, stood silent, his eyes wide, a flicker of awe replacing his usual bravado. The sheer scale of their undertaking suddenly solidified, a silent testament to their audacity. "Impressive," Leo murmured, his voice low, a hint of professional admiration in his tone. He pulled on a pair of latex gloves, the action crisp and deliberate. "Let's not admire it all night." Sophia, already moving with her specialized tools, began prying open the first box. The process was surprisingly quick, a practiced dance of leverage and pressure. She passed the open box to Marco, who, with an almost reverent care, began transferring its contents into a thick canvas bag. Diamonds, still in their paper envelopes, tumbled out, followed by a glittering cascade of emeralds, rubies, and gold chains. The air grew thick with the scent of old paper and precious metals. They moved with an almost surgical efficiency, a silent ballet of theft. No wasted movements, no unnecessary chatter. Just the soft rustle of velvet pouches, the clink of metal against metal, and the growing weight of the bags. Each one, a treasure chest emptying into their expanding hall. Marco, ever the showman even in the dark, flashed a quick, almost imperceptible grin at Sophia as he dropped a particularly ornate diamond necklace into a bag. She responded with a slight, almost imperceptible quirk of her lips, a rare display of shared amusement. The weight of their success was becoming tangible, filling the vault with the silent hum of untold riches. The vanishing act. The cool night air still clung to the polished marble as Marco, a shadow among shadows, meticulously wiped down the last surface. Each swipe of his cloth erased not just potential fingerprints, but any lingering hint of their presence. Sophia, her movements precise and economical, relocked the vault door with a soft click that was almost imperceptible. She then reversed the delicate mechanism, leaving it in its original, untouched state. The air, thick with the scent of ozone and triumph, was slowly being replaced by the mundane aroma of cleaning agents. Leo watched, a silent conductor to this symphony of retreat. He checked his watch. The pre-dawn glow was a mere whisper on the horizon. "Clean as a whistle, Leo," Marco breathed, a hint of his usual showmanship in his hushed tone, even now. Sophia merely nodded, her eyes scanning the corridor one last time, a perfectionist to the core. They slipped out of the Diamond Centre, merging with the earliest commuters, delivery drivers, solitary joggers, and the first trams rumbling to life. The city, oblivious, stretched out before them, waking to an ordinary Monday. The vast emptiness of the vault, brimming with potential revelation, remained their silent secret. Hours later, the sharp clang of a key in the lock echoed through the vault corridor. Old Joseph, the security guard, a creature of habit, swung open the heavy door. His eyes, accustomed to the glint of thousands of diamonds, blinked. Then they widened. The shelves were bare. The usually overflowing safe deposit boxes gaped open like empty mouths. A cold dread, unlike anything he'd ever felt, seized him. His breath caught in his throat. The news broke like a dam. "Impossible heist at Antwerp Diamond Centre," blared headlines across every major publication. Experts called it audacious, unprecedented. The global diamond market trembled. How could an impenetrable fortress have been breached without a single alarm, without a single shot fired? The world reeled, captivated by the sheer audacity of the vanishing act. The farmer's find. The rusted Ford pickup clattered down the gravel lane, spewing a plume of dust that momentarily obscured the morning sun. Farmer Jedediah, Jed Miller, a man whose hands were permanently etched with the earth's toil, squinted at the horizon. Another day of fence mending. His gaze drifted to the highway that skirted his property, a ribbon of asphalt perpetually shedding other people's forgotten refuse. Usually, it was just fast food wrappers or soda cans, but today, something bulkier stood out, a large black duffel bag half hidden in the ditch. "Damnation," Jed muttered, pulling the truck over. He swung his legs out, his joints protesting with a familiar ache. The bag, made of a synthetic material, was surprisingly heavy. He nudged it with his boot, a faint metallic clinking sound emanating from within. Curiosity, a rare indulgence for Jed, got the better of him. He wrestled the bag open. A jumble of items spilled out, empty takeaway containers, their greasy aroma still clinging to the air, mingled with the faint scent of stale cigarettes. Then he saw them. A stack of papers, some with official-looking seals, others scrawled with unfamiliar handwriting. Among them, a partially eaten sandwich lay beside a crumpled receipt from a grocery store he didn't recognize. But it was the glint of something metallic beneath a discarded sock that made him pause. A small, intricately carved silver locket, definitely not the kind of thing you'd toss out with a half-eaten burrito. Jed knew enough to know this wasn't ordinary litter. He closed the bag slowly, his mind racing. He pulled out his ancient flip phone, punching in the familiar numbers for the local sheriff's department. Sheriff Thompson arrived within the hour, his patrol car stirring up a second dust cloud. He listened to Jed's clipped explanation, his brow furrowed. "Looks like someone was in a hurry to ditch some evidence, Jed," he observed, pulling on a pair of latex gloves. He carefully began to examine the bag's contents. The papers, initially dismissed as mundane, proved to be far from it. One document, a heavily encrypted ledger, caught his eye. Another was a torn receipt from a diner in Antwerp, dated a mere week before the Diamond Centre heist. The immediate call went out to federal investigators. Agent Petrov, her voice tight with a newfound urgency, received the intel. "Antwerp, you say? And a ledger?" This was more than just trash. It was a breadcrumb, a tangible link to the phantom thieves who had vanished into thin air. Hope, a fragile commodity, began to flicker within the weary investigation team. The secret smile. The discarded sandwich wrapper, a half-eaten pizza slice, and a crumpled receipt from a nondescript highway gas station. These were the mundane breadcrumbs, leading investigators to a forest of glittering secrets. Forensic analysis, a painstaking process of elimination, eventually linked the refuse to a particular rental car, then to a temporary Antwerp address. The pieces clicked with an unsettling precision for Chief Inspector Dubois. The impossible vault had been breached, and now the impossibly meticulous thieves were about to be caught. The arrests were swift, a coordinated ballet of flashing lights and shouting commands. Marco, mid-sentence telling a particularly outlandish anecdote at a bustling cafe, found himself pinned against a brick wall, his usual charming grin replaced by a flicker of genuine shock. Sophia, quietly engrossed in a book in her sparsely furnished apartment, barely had time to register the battering ram before officers swarmed her. She offered no resistance, only a faint sigh as her beloved lockpicking tools were confiscated. Leo was apprehended in his hotel room, a map of Antwerp spread across the table, annotated with cryptic symbols. He didn't struggle, didn't curse. Instead, a peculiar calm settled over him as the handcuffs clicked shut. Interrogations began immediately. Marco, despite the gravity of the situation, couldn't resist a few wisecracks, deflecting questions about the diamonds with exaggerated surprise. Diamonds? My dear Inspector, I'm a humble tourist, admiring the architecture. Sophia remained largely silent, her eyes darting between the stern faces of her interrogators and the blank wall, offering only variations of, "I know nothing." Her quiet defiance was palpable. Then it was Leo's turn. He sat across from Dubois, radiating an unnerving composure. The questions were relentless, circling the unrecovered gems like vultures. "Where are they, Notarbartolo? We know you have them." Leo listened, his gaze steady, almost amused. When Dubois finally paused for breath, Leo merely offered a faint, almost imperceptible smile. It wasn't a smirk of defiance, nor a grin of victory. It was a private knowing curve of the lips, a secret held close, hinting at depths the inspector couldn't even begin to plumb, a story far more intricate than just stolen diamonds. The true prize, it seemed, remained just out of reach. The lingering sparkle. The courtroom buzzed, a crucible of public fascination. Leo, impeccably dressed even in the defendant's box, watched impassively as the verdicts were read. Guilty. The word echoed, not just for him, but for his crew. The electrician, the locksmith, the surveillance expert. The media, hungry for every detail of the impossible heist, devoured the drama. They painted him as a master thief, a modern-day Lupin, and the public, captivated, hung on every lurid detail of the Diamond King who had outsmarted the impenetrable vault. Sentences were handed down, years to be served for a crime that felt almost mythical in its audacity. Yet, as the prison gates clanged shut, the most glittering prize remained elusive. The vast majority of the diamonds, a staggering haul valued at over $100 million, simply vanished. Investigators scoured the continent, followed dead-end leads, and interrogated endlessly, but the sparkling cash remained stubbornly unrecovered. It became a whisper, a legend, whispered in hushed tones in the Diamond District. Where had they gone? Years later, from behind prison walls, Leo Notarbartolo offered tantalizing crumbs in carefully orchestrated interviews. His eyes, still sharp with an unreadable glint, held a different narrative. "My team, we didn't take everything," he'd mused to one journalist, a faint knowing smile playing on his lips. "There were other players, larger players." He spoke of a smaller haul, hinting at a meticulously planned inside job, a larger conspiracy that used his crew as unwitting pawns, or perhaps as convenient scapegoats. The implication hung heavy in the air. The true masterminds, the real beneficiaries, were still out there, their hands clean, their pockets full. The Antwerp Diamond Heist, therefore, became more than just a tale of audacious theft. It was a stark parable. The impossible vault, the layers of state-of-the-art security, all were rendered impotent not by brute force, but by the insidious erosion of trust, by human routine morphing into blind faith. It was a lesson etched in diamond dust, a glittering scar on the world's most secure financial district. And as for the diamonds, the unrecovered, unfound treasure, their lingering sparkle continued to fuel speculation, a silent testament to a truth far more complex and enduring than any simple conviction could convey.